Welcome back, Everything Suspect Podcast. It's your boy Billy D. Whew. This one I had to do, right? So the name of this one is The Prediction and the Butterfly Effect of the Jussie Smollett case. There might be a lot of people who don't care about this case, and that's fine. But for me, this was one of the first podcasts I ever did, like years ago when I was just toying around with the thought of doing a podcast. This was one of the ones that really, or this story really made me want to go out and do it. So I guess we can start with my prediction. And not to pull any punches, because you know I like to be in, I like to be out. So I'm going to give it now. So first things first, he will be found guilty on all charges, but he will only get probation. Now, the charges that he has against him, they carry the sentence of at least 3 years in prison. But I don't think he's going to get it. I think they might show a little bit of mercy on him because he is a first-time offender. He's a celebrity. And the powers that be that were, or the people that were in power in Chicago back when these crimes were committed, or back when this story happened, are no longer there. The mayor's gone, the chief of police is gone, and those were the people who really wanted his neck. The only person that's still around is the person who was trying to protect him. So why do I think he's guilty? If you don't remember the case, or if you never heard of the case, of course, Jussie Smollett, he was a guy that had a leading role on the show Empire. To give it, let's just say who he is, and let's just go through the things that he did. I guess he wanted more money on the show. He wanted a bigger role on the show, or he wanted his role to be bigger. So a letter comes to the studio that's threatening him. It's like one of them old school, letters that cut out word for word from different magazines and all that. That's sent to him. That's saying like, yo, your life is in danger. So he wanted more security, and nobody at the studio took him seriously. So what happens next is where the guilt comes in for me, or where I didn't believe him to begin with. He goes out in the middle of the night to go get a Subway sandwich, like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning in Chicago, where it's below freezing temperatures. He decides, after having a letter sent, or a letter being delivered to him saying like, your life is in danger, we don't like you, with no security, he goes out in the middle of the night in Chicago to go get a sandwich. Sorry, that was all I needed to hear. But then there was more layers to it, right? But who goes out with death threats out there? You go out by yourself in the middle of the night in Chicago to get something to eat when you could have had something ordered, or just not ate. Like, I'm not going out, especially in Chicago, of all places. So initially his story was he's approached by two men who he believed to be white. They say, hey, you're the dude from Empire. I don't know what racist white people are like watching Empire, but and you're the gay dude. Oh, well, this is MAGA country. They have on red MAGA hats. They put a noose on them. They beat him up a little bit, or roughed him up, and then pour bleach, put a noose on his neck and roughed him up a little bit. So he calls the cops, and this is where his guilt really comes into play, and this is where the powers that be really had an issue with him. Call the cops, they come over, he still has the noose on his neck. That was just weird for me. Like, the noose can still have impact without you having to wear it when you are talking to the cops. Like, yo, and they got the noose. Like, if some white dudes put a noose on me and I go and call the cops about it, I think I'm gonna take it off. I just don't want it around me. I don't want it touching me. But here's the thing, right? Here's where he could have said that, like, I left it on for DNA purposes, right? You would think that would be the only reason why he would leave it on. Like, DNA, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch anything. So I left it on. The problem with that is They wanted DNA tests from him, or they wanted him to give DNA so they could do a investigation, which makes sense. Jussie refused to give DNA, so that makes no sense to have the noose on. Then they're like, okay, well, we got to open up an investigation. Give us your phone. He didn't do that either. He called the cops so that he could not cooperate with them. I guess he just thought they were going to take a report and just say, all right, man, we'll get back to you. That didn't happen. They wanted to do the job. They wanted to catch the person that did this. So all of those things for me made him 1,000% guilty of everything that he said he did. I think he was lying from the beginning. So then we fast forward, and it comes out that he might have set it up. With who? Some Nigerian guys that he knows, and we're not going to get into all of that. But now that he's on trial, the defense has completely given into the fact that, okay, it wasn't two white dudes. In fact, it was these black dudes that did it. Like they have nothing to go off of to stick with his initial story. They have to admit, they have to say, okay, it was these two Nigerians. They threw around the fact that they were anti-gay, only to find out one of the dudes had been doing sexual stuff with Jussie. So they throw that out the window. They got pictures of them at the gay parade with no shirts on. So like everything that the defense threw at the prosecution, it just died on the vine. Everything that they could think of. What's interesting about this is the butterfly effect of what's happening now. And these are also predictions of mine, but not really, because this is actually happening. But and all the people who are involved in this case in some way, shape, or form, is really weird. So in order to really get to the bottom of it, we have to start with Kim Foxx. Kim Foxx is the state attorney in Chicago. So she's the person who basically says what charges are going to stick, what charges are going to be dropped on any case that comes through or that comes on her desk. So the police, after the little bit of investigating that they did, they decided, no, we think he's lying. And after all these man hours that we did on investigating him, we want him to pay because he just sent us on a wild goose chase, right? To the point where the mayor also felt as though Jussie was doing a disservice to the city and making everybody look bad. But for some reason, Kim Foxx, who was also a part of this group, the mayor, the police, the attorneys, they all work together. They all have to be on one accord. She dropped all the charges. So that means you can't go and when the case is dropped, that seals documents. She did it without letting the police department know. She did it without letting the mayor know. She just did it on her own. Why did she do that? Well, it is alleged, and maybe I don't know. I'm going to say alleged for the sake of this podcast. But it's been said that Michelle Obama called Kim Foxx personally to say, hey, close the case or help Jussie in any way, shape, or form that you can. And she did it. Now, for those who are wondering why Michelle Obama, and where did that come from? And, who is she? Not who is she? We all know who Michelle Obama is, but what leverage can she have? Well, before Barack Obama was the president of the United States, of course, he was the senator in Illinois. Chicago's in Illinois, so she has a lot of political power. She has a lot of friends, and Kim Foxx being one of them, and Jussie being friends with the Obamas, it only made sense for the ex-first lady, my favorite first lady, to put a call in and say, hey, help the little homie out. And Kim Foxx obliged, and that set off a chain of events in between the police department and the mayor's office that just they wanted Kim Foxx gone, and she refused to step down. And guess what? She is still the state's attorney, or she still has the same job, and her job is not up for re-election until 2024. So the police chief is gone. He was fired by the new mayor. A new mayor has come in, black woman, police chief. This mayor fired the police chief that wanted Jussie to pay for the wasted man hours that his department had to do. He's gone. So yeah. And now it just came out that Don Lemon, who is facing charges right now, was texting Jussie because of his connections with the Chicago area and his political power, saying, "Hey, Jussie, looks to me like the police don't believe your story." And Jussie testified to that in court the other day. Now, for those who don't know, Don Lemon is, I think, the only black anchor who has his own show on CNN. Right now is facing charges for like sexual harassing somebody from some time ago. And that person is not only wanting to sue Don Lemon, but they're trying to sue CNN. So in the middle of Don Lemon facing charges, Jussie is in the courtroom saying, "Oh, and by the way, Don Lemon was hitting me up, letting me know that the police chief and the police department don't believe my story." Don Lemon now hit the butterfly effect of this Jussie thing. He might lose his job over this too. Because guess what? Somebody else, Chris Cuomo, just got fired by CNN this week or last week. And what was he doing? Well, Chris Cuomo is the brother of Andrew Cuomo, who just stepped down as the mayor, or no, as the governor in New York. Why did he get fired? Governor Cuomo was brought up, or was alleged to had inappropriate sexual contact or some sexual harassment charges put on him. And they were trying to find out, well, who are the girls? Who said this? Who said that? He had no way of knowing. So what does his brother do? Chris Cuomo, who works for CNN, uses his connections. Yo, do you know any of the women who are, talking about my brother? Do you know any of, are they being interviewed? Do you know who's got that job? And then he's texting people. He's texting the governor's office to let them know, I found out this, I found out that. This woman, that person, they're all giving statements. He abused his spot as a CNN anchor to help his brother out. But he's now fired because he abused his power. And so now this thing that Don Lemon has done is kind of like helping Jussie obstruct justice, which could be a thing that could also weigh in on CNN saying, Don, you're getting us sued. You're helping a person, especially if he gets found guilty. You helped this dude obstruct justice that was guilty. There's just so many layers to all of this. And last but not least, the big butterfly effect of this. Kamala Harris. And as soon as the story broke, before we knew anything about what Jussie had did, like the true story, she was one of the first people on Twitter giving support, not knowing anything about it, and or not knowing anything about the case, not knowing if he's lying or telling the truth. She just ran to that, like, this is a new form of lynching and this and that. And the issue that I have with that is not necessarily because she thinks that it's a new form of lynching, or the fact that she stood up for a friend. But now that she is the vice president, and I don't know if you all know this, her approval rating is dropping drastically. There are people who have worked for her to get her into this office that are like leaving the White House. They can't take it anymore. There's a lot of bad stuff going around about Kamala Harris and the job she's doing as the vice president. But be that as it may, she was the one, her and Cory Booker, who were going hard for a anti-lynching bill. And now that she's in a position of power where she can probably get that done, or she has more political influence, nothing's being spoke of it. The only thing that we've gotten out of her being in office right now is Juneteenth. She would follow through on the policies that she was working on before. Not saying that her plate isn't full, or not saying that, you know, she doesn't have other things to do, but it would just be nice, especially for politicians who get into a space where they have more influence, to at least follow through on the things that they were working on when they had less political power. It would only make sense, right? But we'll save that for another day. So along with Kamala having a bad along with Kamala's approval rating dropping drastically, for Jussie to come out and be found guilty, if he's found guilty, it's only going to make her look worse. She's going to be dragged through the mud even more by Fox News and all these other affiliates, or all these other Republicans or conservative, or all of these conservative news outlets or media outlets. It's just another thing that makes her look bad. I believe this is the good old boy, a new good old boy system gone awry because they chose to attach themselves to a liar. That's it. What do I mean? We all know about a good old boy system, right? It's said that, you know, it's the same reason why there aren't black owners in the NFL, right? Because the system has been set up to keep white people, or I mean, that might be a lot, but they are not allowing black people to become owners. And that's called a good old boy system, right? And so it looks as though they're starting to become a good old boy system for black folks, right? From the Obamas calling this person, from that person doing this for the case, to Don Lemon being a news anchor, to hitting up the homeboy like, hey, you know, like they have their own thing in place. And look, I'm all for it, man. If there is a structure in place that's stopping black folks from getting over because white folks hold all the power, I'm totally okay with black folks starting their own thing where, like, they get the benefit of being a part of a power structure. Like, I think everything should be all balanced out. Like, if white folks can have power, black folks can have power too. And it should be equal. The only issue that we have here is that this good old boy system that was put in place, or that is, you know, slowly materializing, has attached itself to a case with a dude who did nothing but lied. So, what do we do about this? Could Jussie's lies affect Don Lemon being a gay black man on CNN, the only one that we have? Will he now lose his job and his position of power due to Jussie? Or is Jussie going to contribute to that? Will Kim Fox lose her job when the new election comes up due to this dude was lying the entire time and you did everything you could to make sure that he got away with those lies? Nothing can touch the Obamas. I mean, so like, Michelle put in the call. She can do whatever she wants. They'll be fine. But even CNN is looking bad right now, and Jussie's going to contribute to that. Chicago looks bad, but they've always looked bad. You know, back to Blagojevich and even before all of that. But this is the butterfly effect of the Jussie Smollett case. For all the underground stuff that you didn't know, I hope that I provided you some context and stuff of that nature. And I think that the jury actually gets the case today. I think closing arguments was yesterday. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a minute now, but I'm just getting around to it, so I wanted to hurry up and do my podcast and get it in and get out the way before the verdict comes down, so we can see how right or wrong I am. But for what it's worth, I know that I might be going against a whole lot of black folks who just believe we supposed to stick behind black folks no matter what. I'm dying to get your feedback. Put it in the comments, respond, reply. Let me know how you feel, man, because this is one that I think is really dope and something that it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out and how it affects other things that's going on in society right now, especially in the media. Y'all chill.